Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Digital Dentistry Decoded podcast, a podcast where we keep you in the know of everything digital dentistry. And we got a good topic here as we start the new year. As we all know, 2025 was a busy year for digital. And the topic today is the top digital trends to look out for in 2026. And who's better really to speak about that than Rune Fisker? Rune, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you. I have really been looking forward to our discussions today, and it's another exciting year.
Yes, sir. And as you guys all know, Rune was previously the VP of Product Strategy at 3Shape. I mean, look, I don't want to gas you up too much, Rune, but I think you're an individual who probably understands digital more than anyone, and especially on the manufacturing side. I mean, you've been there since the infancy, and you've taken 3Shape to crazy heights. I mean, I actually have. This is our first ever Trios 3 that we purchased back in 2016. So look, that was kind of the start of our digital journey. And I have to thank you for everything you've done for digital. But now Rune has, I don't want to say left 3Shape, that's not the right word, but he is now an executive advisor for 3Shape. And he made the announcement. And once again, big congratulations on everything you've achieved, Rune. What does this mean, though? I mean, before we get into the trends, everyone is asking me in the industry, where's Rune going? What's he doing? Is he retiring? What's happening? Let's hear it from you.
No, obviously that's an important question, which I'm also thinking a lot about. But I can tell you so much, and a lot of people were like posting on the announcement that sounded like I was going retiring. I can say I have too much energy, too many ideas, and are far too young to go on pension. So, and I love dentistry. I love teeth. I love this field. So I will definitely stay in digital dentistry and dentistry overall on the global. What exactly and how that's going to unfold, I'm still thinking about, talking to a lot of people about, but I'm certainly not leaving, and it's super exciting times. After literally 25 years, the 14th of September this year with 3Shape, and of course, starting in a one-room apartment and then ending at more than 2,500 people has been an extremely exciting and fun journey. And now I'm looking forward to the next step. But I'm not leaving, but stay tuned. Stay tuned for more.
And look, one thing's for sure, we're going to miss you in the events. I'm sure you're going to be around, of course, but we're going to miss you being that kind of guiding light at the 3Shape booths. Of course, you haven't completely left 3Shape. I mean, you are executive advisor. I do understand it's I don't want to talk on your behalf. It's basically kind of like a trail out, or how's it working?
I mean, now I'm an executive advisor, and I'm formally, have a contract to end of May, and then let's see how it unfolds. I mean, 3Shape will always remain close to my heart, but I'm obviously not in the office on a daily basis anymore. So that's the situation now, and we see how life progresses and what opportunities unfold. There's for sure a lot of opportunities and ideas, so that's always a great starting point, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we're all excited to see what you come up with next. But look, once again, nice to have you here, Rune. I'm sure you're enjoying holiday somewhere, but I guess let's just jump into it, the good parts. And before we talk about 2026, let's briefly reflect on 2025. What's your thoughts? I mean, when you look at the year, and of course you closed it out now as an advisor for 3Shape, when you look back at the past year, what are some of the standout things to you, things that, that jump out at you, and what guides that into the next year?
No, I think overall it was another year with significant development, right, on the digital side. And of course, what stands most out is this proliferation or boom of AI companies coming out with all kind of apps or solutions. Also, of course, when we look back to ideas, which is always, Rune's highlight in the year, this is not Christmas or anything else. This is truly ideas. Ideas is the Christmas for Rune, right? It was not like there was, disruptive new innovations there, but there was a lot of progress. But I really think AI, I also think 3D printing was really picking a lot up last year. And then, of course, we saw the whole iOS market shifting quite solidly in terms of number of players and so on, right? But it was a significant year of innovation maybe less adaptation, honestly, in terms of all these AI tools, but I'm far more optimistic on 2026 here. But let's discuss that shortly. But what's your view on it?
Yeah, look, I have to agree. I think the industry as a whole, there was no kind of massive swings. If anything, it was the thing that sticks out to me is this kind of big push of horizontal scan body systems. Now, almost every competing scanner company now needs to have a full arch implant workflow inbuilt. And obviously, that was led by Elite, and we saw 3Shape with true abutment. And now we're seeing basically a lot of companies create these horizontal titanium scan bodies. And I think that's going to apply a lot of market pressure to photogrammetry companies that are traditional. We talked about that last year. But yeah, look, it hasn't been a year of like any major changes. One thing I would say is that we saw extreme price gouging in the market, and
Sure.
obviously from some Chinese companies like Shining with the release of the Alf just recently. I mean, that's aggressive pricing, and how that's going to impact all other companies in this year, that's going to be interesting. And lastly, I would say what's really interesting to me is this iPad compatibility in digital dentistry. So Meta i900 took their i900 and made mobility. Now it's a total iPad platform. I think it's a really cool move. I think it has a lot less heat and negative feedback, I would say, than all the people when they're thinking about Prime Scan 2. And it's kind of interesting that mobility aspect that I feel like Prime Scan 2 tried to achieve, but people are really negative about DS Score currently. And that's kind of sad to see because I think what they're building is quite interesting. And I really think the future of iOS is going to be iPads. The reason being is that we're seeing so many things go to iPad, like True Abutment announcing photogrammetry on an iPad. Of course, you have face scanners. And, instead of using a laptop, if everything gets moved to an iPad, that kind of makes that one workstation capable of so much more than a laptop. But what are your thoughts?
It's funny. I'm not so excited about the iPad. I mean, I think it's cool from a technology point of view, and I love my iPhone here. So and I use it all the time, right? But still, I mean, I don't feel an iPad is a clinical tool. To me, it's just a screen. Whether the screen is Windows powered, iPad powered, or Android powered, doesn't really change in my opinion. But it's fun to see the movements, and it's an interesting move, you can say, to see where it goes. But of course, more and more of our lives move into this device, right? So it's kind of interesting to see. I'm a little bit more skeptical, but let's see how it goes. Of course, it gives the flexibility, and I mean, I love my iPad too, and I've had an iPad for years, right? So it is. But let's see.
It's interesting. It's an interesting, and time will tell. I mean, when we talk next year, we'll be able to find out. But I guess let's get into the top digital trends. And for those who don't know, this has almost become like a yearly ritual for me and Rune, where Rune kind of shares his 5 biggest trends, and obviously he keeps his eye on the market. And we've done this since 2024, 2025, and you guys can read the blog. This time around is 2026, and I have them written here. Rune, your top digital trend, number 1, well, they're numbered 1 to 5. I'm not sure this is in priority, but number 1 you mentioned was AI agents will enter the clinic. And please elaborate about that.
So one of the really, so of course you've all heard about generative AI and ChatGPT, right? Where you actually sit and chat with yourself, and what it can do is remains constantly impresses me, right? But what the next big trend in AI is actually you build agents or digital co-workers that actually connect different actions together. So it means you connect maybe speech recognition with actually the PMS as the most obvious example, right? So it's not just a chat anymore, but it really becomes a digital co-worker. And one of the you say very clear examples is AI assistants. And I was just checking before writing the trends, and there's at least 20, if not 10, if not 20 companies now doing voice recognition specifically for dental, right? So both for the receptionist, but actually also for note taking, for updating the charts, etc. And I think it's, as a dentist, I was so much look forward to it. But of course, you guys do so much cumbersome work, especially on the notes. And of course, having an AI receptionist you can call around the clock is also super friendly for the patients, for the customers that has a question, or you all know you don't have to hit that window anymore. So this is really, and I really think we will see now a move where it's just people dreaming or being visionary with AI, as many are, to actually see it move into the clinics. Because if it should be a little bit hard on the AI adaptation that hasn't moved so much into the clinic, right? There has been a lot of hype, a lot of dreams, visions, and so on, but actually seeing the daily impact in the clinic is still limited. And I think we will see a year where that is going to be adopted beyond the very early adapters, which I think is super exciting and great for dentists and patients.
It's interesting, yeah, you mentioned that. I mean, I've used a whole bunch of AI agents just in my testing, from Receptionist to obviously all the different AI CAD tools. But let's talk about the agents and the Receptionist tools. Of course, there's a lot of different note-taking tools, like things that you can wear on yourself that has a microphone, or it looks like a webcam that sits on your desk. And there's, like you said at the start, there's so many of these being released. I think there's over like 10 different players just in this AI agent space. And I'm curious to hear from you. Why don't you think it's been adopted? I mean, I have my gut feeling, and a couple of hesitations I think is A, the cost, the whole monthly fee thing, because dentists, better than most, don't like subscriptions. And B, I would say, I mean, in terms of notes, I know some colleagues that just do it through ChatGPT. They don't feel like they need like a specialized dental thing. And in terms of the receptionist, there's still kind of this uncanny valley. I don't know. I haven't tested them recently. I would say the last time I tried one was about 5-6 months ago. And I think a lot of clinicians, fear putting that on to their patients, where when you pick up the phone, I think there's that expectation that you're going to talk to someone rather than a bot, because you can always tell it's a bot, either the pauses or things like that. But what are your thoughts? What are the barriers? And it's funny because I'm not sure it will be mass market, but I'm curious to see how the year goes.
No, I think that there's a couple of, first of all, it's just the willingness to change, and of course it needs to work, but you can say also super importantly, it needs to be integrated to the practice management system, the PMS, right? If there's no PMS integration, so you can, for instance, book a time or take other actions, then it has no worth, then it has no value, right? So the integration is completely significant. And then also, I actually don't think that ChatGPT is trained well enough. I mean, it's amazing what these large language models can do. Also, Gemini is from Google is progressing massively, right? Some even say it's surpassing now ChatGPT in performance. But when you train more, and we also have been playing a little bit with it, when you train it more dental specific, you can actually get really good quality on it. I talked, one of 3Shape KOL has actually built his own quite impressively, and had more than 3,000 calls into an AI receptionist with really good results. I mean, sometimes quite impressively, he has especially elder people sitting and talking for 15 minutes with the AI agent, discussing treatment options and so on. And at least what he's saying is the feedback is really, really positive. We, of course, also do see, particularly in UK, adaptation of a system called Heidi for DSOs. Of course, DSOs are sometimes a bit front mover with some of these, also try to, look for cost. And for instance, I was just looking at Heidi's homepage, and he just raised $65 million in a Series B, so the second founding round, and are doing it for not just dentistry, but also for medical and a few others. For me, it's back to, you need to build this real solution, right? That integrates completely into the system. And that's honestly one of the biggest barriers. I mean, the biggest barrier, in my opinion, for AI agents and really radical digitalization is actually the practice management systems, because they are not giving the opportunities, the integration opportunities. They are slow, they are old on old software platforms, right? And I think this is also the case. But I would say full-blown integrated solutions, of course, you need to have high quality in it, so it needs to be trained on real dental data, and it needs to ultimately be able to update the chart. Then I have to say I cannot imagine it's not coming. Of course, there's still this personal touch. I mean, I think people want a personal touch. We're also not sitting here debating with the AI agent, right? I mean, of course, also curiosity is that I did, of course, check with both ChatGPT and Perceptive as AI tools here, but I was not particularly impressed with the trends, so I had to write them myself. So
you tried to shortcut. I bothered you on your holiday. Yeah, I mean, look, it is an interesting topic, and I think maybe one way to make that kind of personal touch barrier a bit easier is tell the clinicians it's at least have a backup AI bot where the calls that are missed go to the AI bot. Sure, you have your
exactly.
receptionist and some of them are super trained, blah, 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 but there's a lot of calls missed every day in a dental office. And
Of course.
it's basically like loss of revenue right there. And that's kind of a fascinating point. But again, the cost, the revenue factor, I mean, I think these companies really have to have a strong case to go mass market. I mean, it's just not as simple as iOS where the advantages are so clear. You kind of have to convince the market of this need and then be able to sell to them.
But it's an excellent point on the pricing. I would say though that the pricing is, for instance, with Heidi is $99 per month, right, for one seat, and also these prices are going to come down. I mean, some of they would say front runners currently have far too high prices, in my opinion. This is going to be extremely competitive, especially on the note taking and phones, especially on the phone support, because there's of course thousands of companies across industries that's working on that, right? So I think there'll be a lot of competition in this space, and competition is always great. It moves a product forward, innovation forward, and it gives better prices for customers, right? I mean, I always felt that life is boring without competition. So
we need our friends in China to disrupt this. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
Okay, so AI agents, that's the point number one. And let's see, 2026 is ahead of us. Let's see if when we talk in a year's time, if it really becomes more than the early adopters.
Sure.
Now let's talk about point number two, which is generative AI in daily clinic and daily use. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, you can say that's where it really has an impact right now, right? Where we use AI for diagnostic, to some extent for patient engagement, for planning, and not at least for treatment execution in terms of CAD design. If we actually start with the last one, I mean, now 3Shape Automate does more than 12,000 crowns a day, right? And has like been booming. And it will continue to boom also because the pricing model has now been changed. So if you pay your lab subscription, then you get the whole AI for free, basically, right? And we also do see the X-ray AI, where you can say is one of the biggest areas are being adapted. I would say probably the AI companies are still growing, but it's the adaptation goes maybe a little bit slower than I would have expected. And then, of course, we see, which I think was truly innovative, 3Shape launching like real AI training based on intraoral scans. We do see some really now that is out now. We have customers running with it on the clinic on a daily basis. I mean, of course, this is a journey, but we do see a lot of excitement for those that have truly, and not at least use it, which is ultimately what it's about, with those that have adapted it already and using it, right? So that is exciting. I think, but you can say this is really where it has impact on a daily basis. And I'm sure in the future, every X-ray will be AI diagnosed. And again, here prices will come down for sure.
I totally
Same
agree.
AI into all scans will be diagnosed. And I think ultimately, it's not about having an X-ray diagnosis and an iOS diagnosis, about doing holistic diagnose on a broader range of image modalities, right? And also, I hear a lot of excitement, and I also think myself it's super exciting actually to look at diagnostic on CBCT because it's so much harder. I mean, you have been looking at X-ray for years and are very competent in it, but doing it at CBCT because of the 3D is extremely hard. So that we're back to, it's not just about AI excitement here, it's about creating real clinical value. And especially when it comes to CBCT, it's, in my opinion, instantly clinical value because it's so hard to do it manually, right? But this is my opinion. This is going to be everyday use, or it is already everyday use in the clinics this year, and it will further significantly accelerate next year.
I would totally agree. I would say I like your point number two more than point number one, quite frankly. I think the AI receptionist may find more friction, but I totally agree, especially the AI diagnostics. It's interesting though. I basically 100% agree with what you said, where in the future, every x-ray will be read by AI. Matter of time. And what's interesting to me is that these AI companies like Pearl, Overjet, they've been around for a number of years now, and they still, that barrier is just not getting broken. I mean, their numbers are obviously great, and they raise many millions. I think Pearl raised over 50 million or something. I can't remember exactly. Again, those barriers to entry, and I feel diagnostic AI will really be incorporated in the practice when it's totally integrated with your x-ray software. Like you don't even think about it. It shouldn't be something that you have to think about, or I have to log into this. It's basically as soon as you take an x-ray, the readings are there, the findings are there, the report is there automatically, without having to
100%.
log into a cloud, without having to log into a
Yeah.
browser and upload. That's when it will really take off. And then it becomes an interesting thing how these practice management software are going to balance this and who charges for it. But I totally agree. I mean, I was treating an orthopedic surgeon, a patient of mine, and he gets really into academia. And he shared a paper with me. I can share it in the description if anyone's interested. We're starting to get research that shows, not in the dental field, in the medical field, that AI is basically more accurate at reading x rays than humans. And this was done in the medical field. I can't remember the stats exactly, but basically they did three groups: AI, human with AI, and humans alone. And basically, humans alone, it was like mid 70s in terms of their accuracy or success or whatever it is. And the humans with AI, interestingly, was not super high. It was like either high 70s or low 80s. And then AI alone, without the human impact, was over 90%. So
That's
that's
great.
kind of an interesting thing. Look, when I see data like that and how AI reads x rays and how good it is, and quite frankly, for 2D, it's quite, I don't want to say simple. I mean, these are
It is.
complex things, but there's like 5 or 6 indications, that they have to look for. And I totally agree with you with CBCT that this is really the key, because even I mean, to properly read a CBCT takes a lot of time.
Exactly, exactly. No, but I have to say it's actually multiple great points, and the whole integration part. It needs to be frictionless integrated. I was actually visiting a clinic a few months ago where they had Pearl fully integrated into the imaging system, right? And it was literally they took the X-ray, then almost looked at the patient and said something, and then it was there overlaid, right? And that's where you get impact. If you need to do all kind log in, upload a X-ray, is never gonna fly. I'm still puzzled why the X-ray manufacturers haven't moved aggressively into this and tried to differentiate. Because I can say who feels most from an iOS point of view for X-ray diagnostic feels strongest for that. That's 3Shape, or at least iOS manufacturers. But let's see how that unfolds. But it will be completely integrated standard of care in my opinion. And there is actually a Swedish study on X-ray diagnostic in dentistry that do show that the AI is slightly better than humans here on 2D. And again, honestly, 2D is page one in the AI book. It's not that hard to do, and that's also why also here competition will come, right? For the benefit of everybody, right? But exciting times, and that will be a lot of impact here. And I think one of my honestly most impressive AI moments this year has actually also been in this field here, where you can now take a standard photo with where you've done smile design and then make videos where the hair is blowing. I
Yeah.
even saw one the local here in Sweden visiting a customer where the AI takes the retractor out of the mouth and start talking. And it's honestly standard. If you go to Gemini now, you can drop a photo in, and it can make a Grok or some of the others, and it can make not just people talk, but people kiss and all kind of stuff. But it is insane. I mean, there's gonna be a big blur between what is real and what is not real in the future. Almost a little bit scary. But that was, say, an impressive moment also, and super cool. You can say, of course, you need to, as clinicians, to be able to deliver it afterwards.
That's the trick.
So,
That's the
yeah.
trick. Don't oversell. And it's funny, some companies are actually doing this already. Your friends at Align, in their new software update for iTero, the outcome simulator actually does AI videos. Now, it's not quite as good as what you explained, but you could take a single photo and then it will make a smile design and show the patient talking. And it's funny how that's blurring into intraoral scanners. But yeah, look, obviously the year of AI.
Yeah, and also you should get credit. Then actually it was SmileCloud from Florian Kofar that actually did the first, showed a few weeks or almost a month ahead, really these tools here. But it is just taking honestly standard off-the-shelf tools and run them through. But it's just impressive what you can do on these patient engagement tools. And I also think we need, what we've not seen so much yet is really for the planning part. But of course, when you have done the diagnostic, it's not that hard to do the planning, or at least planning proposals or options afterwards, right? Which I also think will be a trend we will see more unfold here this year. But that's actually where there hasn't been so much AI planning yet. But for me, that's a question of time because it comes so easily after diagnostic.
Fascinating stuff, man. I mean, AI has just radically changed the world, as we all know. Kind of in a bad way, though. You've obviously heard the term AI slop, where the internet's apparently within a few years is going to be mostly AI generated content more than, and it's like what you said, it's going to be this blur between what's real and what's fake. It's kind of crazy.
It's a little bit. I mean, I'm a technology optimist. I love technology. I think you also, right? But as a few, it is very rare. I'm concerned, but there are something at least what we have to watch carefully out, right?
100%. So point number 3 is you mentioned iOS becoming the standard of care. I would say it's already the standard of care, but please elaborate, Rune. I mean, we've talked about this for many, many years now about iOS, but what are your thoughts? Why is this point number 3 for you?
No, because I mean, we just see this penetration levels now where a lot of countries now are surpassing 60%, right? And this, I really don't believe you can run a modern clinic. But that is said, we still, I mean, 40% is left, right? But also have to say there's more smaller clinic and maybe older owners. So we have actually seen that most likely the tail of adoption is actually going to be slower than we probably initially expected, right? Because of these factors, despite that it becomes more affordable. So, but I just think this is becoming so mature now also as you highlighted earlier, we have these elongated Scanbodies now that are really solving the last major problem, which is linking to all and X cases, right? So, and of course the numbers continue to impress me. Triage scanned 35 million cases the last 12 months, right? Growing more than 20%. I mean, it's still today, right? It is insane, and it's back to those like hardcore clinical value every day, right? I talked to a dentist where there was a small blob, so he couldn't use the scanner, for 24 hours. Like he had to find impression material. He luckily did have some impression material, but he could hardly remember how to do it, right? I mean, and it was not a pleasant experience. It was a good reminder going back. So, but of course, it's still. For you and me, it's strange. What are the last 40% doing? And we do see countries like Germany still only being in the 30s of adaptation, and also a number of other countries that are still far behind. So the global penetration is not higher than, I would say, 35, maybe slightly higher, but not much more high than that, which is still, for you and me, quite unbelievable, right?
Yeah, big time. I mean, it is a matter of time, though. I think now, basically every new grad I know wants to work with an intraoral scanner. So I think this new generation is very tech savvy and they kind of get it. I think it also trickles down from the dental schools. I think a lot of dental schools are still not digital, which is an issue, I mean, I graduated. Yeah, I mean, I graduated 10 years ago. It's crazy to think 10 years flew by. And I was still doing amalgam and impression. And I think my personal dental school now, they struck up a deal with Dentsupply at the time to install Cerex in the dental school, but in the undergrad clinic, they only currently have one scanner. And so I think from the top down, it needs to change. Universities need to be installing a lot of different scanners, mobile units, cart units, etc.
No, it's honestly almost sad and highly concerning that, to be fair, some of the schools are very progressive, running really digital, but it's more the exception than the rule, right? is really sad. And I hope it's a call out to everyone around the world listening to this. Please go and push your own dental school. We need to get them into the latest technology and reach out to the companies like 3Shape and others. I mean, they should be motivated of getting it out there. And then, of course, if we look on iOS, I mean, still 70 to 80% of all triage cases is digital impression cases, right? And then I really believe and hope, and we're also seeing the signs of this, that people are scanning not just for the impression, but actually start to use it for, of course, patient communication have been widely used for many years, but really also for a diagnostic, where there's now so many opportunities coming again with AI diagnostics. So I think that is also exciting, but of course the main use case will remain digital impressions, but we do see front runners moving into this field. And I also we have got some extremely good feedback on the dental health app, where they actually share your scan and your diagnostic results with the patient, right? And we see those adopted diagnostic have also heavily adopted the app. So I think there are huge opportunities again to change the whole way we interact with patients, because if you look at the checkup, I mean, it looked like the same as when we were kids, right? I mean, you walk in, you sit down in a chair, someone look into your mouth with some tools. I'm actually going to a cleaning this afternoon, and it will be the same cleaning as I got 20 years ago, right? Or 10 years ago. I'm actually excited to see if he's going to scan me or not. My hygienist is there.
I hope they do. If they don't, you made Rune very sad.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. But I think there are so huge opportunities on improving that and then creating a real digital experience for the patient. And I'm not talking about digital X-rays here, but a real digital experience, right? So that's super exciting.
It's funny, you and a lot of companies have been saying that for many years. Scan every patient, and companies make all the tools, all their applications, and you know better than most, a lot of those applications are not used by the vast majority of users. We know that we want to scan every patient because there's benefits, but why do you think people just still don't do it? Is it just...
I think there's a couple of reasons. I think first of all, previously, I mean, people have this patient monitoring and competitors have other things, right? But it was just a color map. It didn't really activate anything, right? And you could see some of it. I think it's always about creating enough value to make this interesting to do. And then, of course, there is the time and change of workflow. That's why it cannot be the dentist scanning. It should be the hygienist when you set that up. So it's about, for me, it's always about having enough value in the product, making it easy enough to use. Same with if the X-ray diagnosis don't run in the imaging software, then it's not going to be adapted, right? So it's ease of use, and it's about creating that whole value proposition strong enough. And I think there is a motion, but of course, this is something that will take time, right? But let's see how it will. I mean, we do see the first adaptation now, so I think it is exciting, and we see motion. But again, it's a journey, right?
Wait and see. Okay, exactly. So point number 4, the rapid rise of 3D printing. I'm sure the 3D printer companies are super happy for you to say that. What are your thoughts? I mean, that's again something that we've been talking about for a while.
No, but I think actually, of course, there has been interest in 3D printing for many years. And I mean, 3Shape, we have been following it since 2000 and 2001, But I really think there has been motion in the market this year and real excitement also, because what we see is a lot of people now have an intraoral scanner, are getting very accustomed to that, using that, and then it is kind of the next natural step is to buy a printer. And we also have to say credit to SprintRay that has really, especially with the Midas, really created something that people can see themselves in, having this espresso machine style and feeling where you just drop in a capsule and it comes out a crown. We know that you have to do some work after and so on. I just feel that there has been much more interest in the whole printer field this year than there was. Of course, there's, I would almost say, a hype, honestly, around Midas, which is great, but also the whole field seems much more mature. And the interest also, I was at ADF in Paris a few weeks ago, a month ago by now, right? And there was really a lot of people looking at 3D printers, not just SprintRay, but also Foam Labs and some of the others and some of the other players, right? And then, of course, I mean, this is not a printer game; it's a material game, right? And we do see materials developing. Now, SprintRay got their tooth material approved in Europe. We do see also things happening on the denture material, particularly, right? So I do think that there is real motion, and ultimately there's going to be a material gain. I mean, of course, we do see Midas also can change the footprint on how a printer look, but ultimately this is about materials getting good enough. But of course, it is interesting to see how deep it will penetrate. But maybe we pause here and then we can continue that topic in 2 seconds.
Speaking of printers, I have a curveball question for you. You were kind of a driving force in 3Shape, and 3D printers are the next thing after a scanner. Why didn't 3Shape ever buy a printer company or make their own printer?
That is a great question. We have, of course, been looking at this field. We actually looked at it. We have been following it for 25 years. 3Shape was born on people printing hearing aids way back, right? So, but of course, we always evaluate our options, and it is an interesting field. 10 years ago, we were sure this would be a red ocean, and you can say to some extent it have been, with printers coming in. When there's hundreds of printers, right? It seems to consolidate more again, very classical. That there's printers from everywhere. But I mean, if I should recommend, a dentist or anything, don't buy a random Chinese printer here. You need to buy a dental specific printer, and preferably, in my opinion, an open printer. But of course, now there's some balances here. But of course, 3Shape is always considering our options and portfolio, and we have actively been looking at the 3D printing market. Let's see what the future will bring. My executive advice is quite clear. I can obviously not share all details here with you.
My just observation is I feel like 3Shape will definitely need to diversify. I think you guys did an incredible job with scanning. And I think that's kind of, I don't know, you would know the numbers. I don't think the numbers were as amazing as post-COVID when everyone's buying scanners. And obviously there's so much competition now. And you do an amazing job on the lab side. Your lab software is renowned and you have a subscription running. But yeah, it's going to be interesting for 3Shape, I would say, in the next few years, because if scanner sales take a hit, and that's a big part of the company, I would almost feel like it's a good push to diversify into something else. But that's just my 2 cents. You're smarter than me, Rune.
I'm not sure, but it's still a good advice. It's a very good advice. No, but I mean, you're obviously right that the scanner market is not booming like under COVID, where it grew 70% 1 year, right? It was just riding the wave. If you have read press announcements very well, you would have seen we have invested in a clear liner company in Jordan called Aeon, right? So let's see. But of course, there's discussions, and 3Shape was never born to stand still. We will, of course, continue to innovate, also innovate in new categories in digital dentistry. So I think it's a good advice, and I would say so much. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for more here, right? I mean, we will continue to expand our portfolio over time when the right opportunities are there.
And
It's exciting.
And my other curveball question, it's not that bad. It's not like the first one. What are your thoughts about 3D printed crowns now? Like, obviously, dentures, they're quite good printed. We know it's established, Lucitone, splints, very good at printing, models, good at printing, surgical guides, it's the standard. A few years ago when we spoke, and I'd highly recommend anyone to listen to our previous podcast. It's interesting to see how things change. But, you were me and you both actually were quite dismissive of the 3D printing thing, and we didn't really see it taking off. Have your thoughts changed? Do you see the materials being that much better, or do you feel like it's a culture shift where for some reason dentists are more open to resin crowns and that will drive it? Or are you seeing actually the materials now can compete with something like Emax, maybe not on megapascals, but at least a deliverable option that's clinically suitable?
This is, of course, one of the most important questions in dentistry, honestly, because it's going to shift a lot if depending on what we answer. I think Justin from Asiga have a great framing saying we're only one innovation away, right? Yeah. When that is said, I have to say, I've discussed this with hundreds of people, right? And I still have to say, quoting here Markus Heinz, CEO of Ivoclar, is saying, a ceramic crown will always be better than what you can print full ceramic crowns. But you can also make a good crown, maybe not yet. And then the question is, do we want the best possible crown, or do we want a good enough crown? Yeah. A good enough crown. I would say in full transparency, I don't see many people will I consider serious putting finals in. People are putting temps in big time, right? But finals, I don't believe they are there yet. Neither from material property for longevity and also from aesthetics, in my opinion. I mean, you are as qualified to judge from a dental experience here, but at least I don't see anything that indicates significant adaptation of printed final crowns. At least, okay, I talked to a guy in Ukraine and one in Romania that are just throwing in printed crowns every day, but I don't think in the, I will call it Western mass market. But of course, there's also a market for cheaper crown for less wealthy people or people that don't have the money, either geographically or in regions local for that. But overall, I remain skeptical, at least on the current solution, that it will get to the level where, at least the current solutions, I would never put a printed crown in as a final.
It's fascinating as well. And like you say, full credit to SprintRay, what they've done to the industry. I mean, I think the company and their leadership is phenomenal, and their marketing is even more phenomenal. It's interesting, I do feel like with the rapid rise of printing and what SprintRay has done, I would not be surprised if this year we see more capsule printers. I think it's just a matter of time. And I wouldn't be surprised if other companies like our Chinese friends start making capsule printers. And we saw some retrospective capsules like what Asiga did. And I think this is going to be a really interesting concept. But then again, it comes back to the material. And, it's funny, of course, everyone has a different point of view, and Dentsply with their mills and everything, they bring up the point, and whether you agree with it or not, is that who do you know that sends a crown to a lab and ticks composite crown or enamic? I mean, it's an interesting point where why when we send to a lab we want zirconia and Emax, and then when we want to do it in-house. But of course it's that investment and the workflow,
Sure.
and it's going to be fascinating to see. I mean, I would say definitely I don't want to call it hype because that has negative connotations, but the excitement has cooled off. Do you remember when Midas came out? It was like
Damn.
it was freaking the Cinderella of the industry. Everyone was talking about printed crowns, and now I feel like it's eased off a little bit. I think people are just waiting for some real clinical data on these things.
I would say here, I think you're a little bit, I actually think the hype has continued locally. So maybe as us that see the market globally and follow, all different kind of groups where you have all the latest, there it has maybe cooled off. But if you're down in the, in France at ADF, where the general dentists are coming in that doesn't sit, every day and look at the latest trends on social media and so on, then I think it's still super hot. I'm not in doubt capsule printers will come in that sense, but at the end of the day, it needs to be the material, right? I mean, no one wants to put in bad materials.
Do you think resin has a theoretical limit on how good it could be?
That's what I'm small. First a disclaimer, and then my opinion, as I'm not a material expert. But yes, that is why Ivoclar and others are saying that you can never get the same property on resins compared to a full ceramic, which I lastly believe is true without being, a chemical PhD here.
So that's an interesting thing that you say, is when is it going to be good enough,
Yeah,
And
that's always
the fascinating thing, because I think they're getting close. I mean, I have to say, kudos to SprintRay with their Crown HT. I've used it a bunch on Midas. It's pretty nice, man. It's like a lot nicer than first generation resins, which were opaque. They were ugly. Looked like my desk. They really look like my desk. And now these new ones, I mean, they look pretty good.
Think back to full zirconia, right? I mean, full zirconia, the first was, I remember, I had a dentist calling it a snowball in the mouth, right? And this was in Europe where teeth are not all white. So, and where we are today with full zirconia crown is beautiful, right? I mean, so there's no doubt this will progress. There's one other thing, actually, which I think is equally important, that is, why hasn't CEREC penetrated deeply into the market? I know you use your CEREC every day, or at least many times a week, but it's still, and I was sitting with a dentist as late as this Friday, but it's both the money, but it's actually equally much just a change of workflow. He says, why should I put pressure on myself? I can treat more on turning a crown around. I can earn more money, treating patients, which is also why no DSO have really implemented classical mill chairside the last 10 years because the business case is wrong. And yes, if you set it up well, like you do, then there is probably both a good business case and for sure a good proposition for the patient, only one stop, right? But you just need to be extremely well set up. It's so easy to take a digital impression and send it to the lab, and next week you just drop it in, right?
The issue is then on that topic, though, then that impacts printing as well, because I mean, people are going to have a wake-up call when they try to print crowns. I mean, I love printing crowns. I think it's incredible. I like all types of technology. But I mean, that argument applies to printing as well, because...
No, 100%, but that's why I never see, even if printing became, really good in terms of, the material properties, then you need the whole post-processing, which is still quite messy. On top of that, right?
And the design.
And the design. Yeah, I'll say AI design, that I will not say consider it solved for every case, but for smaller restorative work like crowns and so on.
But I would say, I mean, I agree. I knew you were going to bring up the AI design part, but you still need to know what you're looking at. That's the trick.
That's fair.
Otherwise, you're going to have issues. Like, you still need to understand CAD design to be able to run that AI CAD software. Not run it. I mean, it gives you a proposal. But if you have no idea and you just click next, you're going to have issues.
Actually, to the listener here, I would actually very much recommend Ahmed's recent review of AI design software. I think it was actually really good. So if you want to see the latest state, but it also shows there's still a way to go, right? You need to know what you're doing.
You saw the designs, right? Some of them are good and some of them are not so good.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing is, but one thing I said, I saw you recently phrased it like the battle between milling and printing. When it comes to chairside, I have to say, in my opinion, the battle is pretty much over. Maybe not in terms of use, but in terms of purchase. I really don't see hardly anyone purchasing mills, and it's often, if you do, it's because they have an in-house lab and buy a lab mill. But we see massive purchase of 3D printers, and I would say, you saw already, a year ago in 2024 that the number of printers are surpassing the number of mills, and the rest of the world is far behind. And we really do see that picking up there as well. So I think this market is going to be hot for the next period. But of course, the jury is still very much out on the final crown. But I'm ready to declare victory for printing, I have to say, over milling chairside. But they will face all the same adaptation problems in change of workflow. I mean, I literally spent 10 years of my life trying to get chairside milling off the ground. And I might have succeeded in many other things, but here I didn't succeed, I have to say.
One thing that's really interesting, and we could talk about this topic for like an hour, is the difference between, and I agree, printers as an install base, they've already beaten milling machines. But I find, in terms of adoption, I feel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the people that often buy mills adopt them and actually use them a lot more for restorations than the people that are buying printers, which may be used, in all the clinics, but they may be used for a couple of models, a couple of splints, and they're not actually, I think one thing is install base and one thing is actually utilization. I think that's a big difference between mills and printers.
But I mean, I have also seen Zurich mills collect dust, not so much anymore, but I agree with you. A lot of printers are also, because they are so fairly inexpensive, people buy them and it's a tool and it's a toy for them, right? So what is the real adaptation? And of course, it comes down to what can you do with it? I mean, still, I'm just talking to a couple of the big printer companies, and it's still like, some of them report 70% models, right? 10%, more than 10% guys, more than 10% sprints, and then some temps, some a little bit of everything, right?
What do you see? What do you see? You know the data, Rune. You see 3Shape produce, and you know what labs are printing. Not labs. I mean, let's say clinics. Labs, obviously, a lot of models, but clinics, are you still seeing dominated by models and then splints?
Yes. I mean, it is, and guides. Guides are very big too, as a big on a smaller scale, but it is models. I mean, this 70% model is probably fairly consistent with what we have, pretty consistent we also see in terms of model builder use and so on, right? So there's still models, but there's super many good applications, and that's also why I have to say I'm actually a great fan of the Asika pod concept, because there you can combine printing models, print guides with a very affordable crown. I mean, it's so funny because, many of the printer companies will out print a crown for €2, and now Midas come, or $2, and now Midas come, and suddenly it's $20, but no one talks about that anymore, right? Because a cartridge. So the kind of degraded marketing would for sure change the marketing here, right? So, and of course, also on the price point, I mean, if printed crowns get good, the labs will print them tomorrow.
But they don't.
No, and that's because a big overseen thing is when you look at the hardcore zirconia cost. If you're a big lab, your unit cost is very, very low. And that's why yes, there's a little bit drill, and you already have the machines.
Fascinating. That's the rapid rise of 3D printing. We can talk about this for an hour, and I love the combo room, but I'm just thoughtful of your time. The last point that you mentioned is the hyper unconnected ecosystem. And, you've mentioned this many times. I remember seeing you talk about this at IDS a couple of years ago. And you talk about things being in silos. And I think it still plagues the industry. Everything is unconnected. But what do you mean by the hyper unconnected ecosystem?
Yeah, it's because if you look at the rest of the general technology, you see everything got connected now. If you're driving a car, for instance, Uber, you can actually see the lights changing when you comes up, right? Which means that the light is connected on the internet and in the cloud, right? So all things get connected. You also, your phone is connected to I don't know how many devices and apps and so on. And then we look at dentistry, and nothing is connected almost, right? The PMS is connected to the X-ray, but that's more or less it. And it's probably the thing that holds digitalization most back, as we also discussed earlier. I mean, all these AI tools that are now overflowing the market, so that the world is actually almost more unconnected than it was just a few years ago, because there's come so many digital tools and lately also AI tools. And if you don't get connected, then the digital future will be slow moving, because no one wants to sit and upload and download files and not getting instantly and so on. The good news is what I really see in the market is there's a change now. So I really feel that we do see companies publishing open AIs. I mean, 3Shape have an open AI API. I think actually that's Barcelona to credit with DS Core. You can basically get the API in a few hours by a few clicks on the homepage, right? Also, we do see PMS interfaces coming out for the big players, the Dentrix of the world. But still, there's 300 plus PMS systems. That's the other problem, is all these small PMS systems. So it's on the motion, and I do see also cloud particular makes it so much easier from a technology point of view to get that going. But overall, and again, not to shame the PMSs, but actually to do a little bit is, as long as they are not moving forward on it, they're going to hold the dental world back, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating for customers, it's frustrating for progress, and it's seriously also frustrating for manufacturers, because as 3Shape, we really, really wanted to move this forward, but we are stuck with PMS systems not moving at the speed we want to, updating back into the PMS.
Do you think this will change? Is it going to change, or is this going to be just a glacial pace?
No. I think it will change. And actually, if you want to see something interesting, you should go and look at Dentrix integration partners, which is the biggest PMS in the world, is Dentrix. So you should go and take a look at them. They actually have quite a mind-blowing amount of integrations now, a lot of close to 10 voice AIs. So there are some motion here. Also, of course, that's for instance a Danish local cloud-based PMS that really are building cool APIs and doing cool integrations. So all the cloud-based PMSs, the only problem is that people are not changing in the clinics.
Yeah, man, it's hard to change. I'm trying to change that cloud-based, and it's hard to change. The traditional PMSs make it very difficult.
They are not helping you, that's for sure, and it's super hard to change. And that is really, that is a significant barrier. But I think there's motion in the field. I would say there's more motion than there's ever been before. But it's still slowing the whole progress and innovation down here.
I honestly agree. I am so frustrated. I'm like the digital guy, blah, blah, blah. I'm into all the technology. I am still on the most ancient PMS software, Exact. And it's because it's so difficult. I've talked to every cloud provider that's in Australia, New Zealand, and none of them can really migrate all the data. And we run a big practice. We've got over 20,000 patients on the book, because we're like a huge practice with a lot of clinicians.
Of course.
And so I physically can't do it. I want to move to a cloud PMS. I've had enough of this local PMS and having to use, Chrome remote desktop. But yeah, I'm getting frustrated, and I'm just waiting for a cloud solution to solve this.
I mean, I'm sure it's coming, but this is worldwide problem. I mean, last Friday I was over visiting a really 16-chair clinic, right? And he was also so frustrated. And when you look, we actually looked at it. So 3Shape have multiple times actually looked at whether we should do a PMS in full transparency.
I wish you did.
But we always conclude, we always conclude that when we look at the market data, no one is moving.
No one's moving.
No one is moving, and it's so hard to go into this market because no one is moving. We see also companies that burned $100 million on this, and they have 2,000 users, right? I mean, the pain is there, but no one is moving. Of course, someday they will move, and of course the current PMSs are sitting on not just on their hands, but on the door, on the keys.
You know why as well? You know why? Because it's a freaking gold mine. Like my PMS software charges us per seat. We have over across all our practices, we have over 40 dental chairs, and at least 2 seats per room, because the DA side and the dentist side, and then all the X-ray machines. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, it's a fantastic business. It's a fantastic business if you are there from a business point of view. Let's hope the PMS systems also listen to this podcast.
Let's hope, my friend. Look, Rune, I really do appreciate it. It's always inspiring, and I'm sure anyone listening will learn a lot from this chat. You're an amazing human, and you've done a lot of amazing things for digital dentistry. Congratulations again. I was going to say on your retirement, but it's not a retirement. You're too young for that. But congratulations again on what you've done with 3Shape, and we're all super excited to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate our discussions. I also learned a lot in these discussions here. It's super fun, and I think really looking into 26 here with big excitement of what's going to happen in the industry, and see if there's one more jump in Rune. So I'm sure there's.
Well, we'll see you in the halls at the major trade shows, Rune. Thanks so much again for your time, and thank you guys for listening. This has been the Digital Dentistry Decoded podcast by the Institute of Digital Dentistry. Like, comment, share it with your colleagues. It helps us out a lot. And thanks again, and see you in the next episode.